Lyra had learned very early that the universe preferred chaos over order, no matter how many laws her tutors insisted governed it. The palace insisted otherwise, of course. The palace believed in structure and precision, in schedules so rigid they could probably be used to measure time itself. Lyra believed those schedules were designed specifically to test her patience, which is why she was not in the palace. She stood alone in the skeletal remains of a long-forgotten observatory, its fractured arches bending toward a sky that shimmered with unstable light. The air hummed faintly, as if something beneath reality was trying to speak, but hadn't quite figured out the language yet. Lyra tilted her head, her eyes adjusting instinctively, catching the subtle distortions that flickered in and out of existence. "There you are," she murmured, more to herself than anything else. The anomaly hovered in front of her, delicate and unstable, like a tear that hadn't decided whether it wanted to stay open or heal. It pulsed in irregular rhythms, bending light and sound into something almost coherent. Almost. She reached toward it, then stopped, pulling her hand back with a small frown. "This is the part where a responsible royal would report this," she said quietly. A pause. "Unfortunately, I am not feeling particularly responsible today." The anomaly pulsed again, brighter this time, as if it had taken her comment personally. "Oh, don't be dramatic," Lyra added, stepping closer. "I haven't even touched you yet." The moment her fingers brushed the surface, the world folded. It wasn't a violent shift, not exactly. More like reality sighed and rearranged itself slightly, making space for something that wasn't supposed to be there. The observatory flickered, its broken walls overlapping with something else, something unfamiliar. Lyra blinked. There was a person standing on the other side. He didn't look like anything extraordinary. In fact, he looked almost aggressively ordinary, as if the universe had gone out of its way to make him unremarkable. He held a cup in one hand, staring at her with the exact expression of someone who had just watched reality malfunction. They both froze. Lyra straightened instinctively, posture snapping into the formal precision she had spent years trying to avoid. "I am Lyra of—" "Okay, nope," the human interrupted, holding up a hand. "I don't know what that is, but I'm pretty sure I didn't sign up for it." Lyra blinked again. "You interrupted a royal introduction." "Yeah, I noticed that," he said. "I'm going to be honest, I'm more concerned about the glowing space hole in my building." She glanced at the anomaly, then back at him. "It's not a hole, it's a dimensional instability." "That does not sound better." Lyra considered this for a moment. "It is, technically, more accurate." The human stared at her, then at the anomaly, then back at her again. "Right, of course it is. And you're what exactly?" "A person," Lyra replied with a slight tilt of her head. "Great, that clears everything up." There was a brief silence. "I can leave," Lyra offered, though she made no movement to do so. "Yes," he said immediately, then hesitated. "Actually, wait." She raised an eyebrow. "You're not like dangerous, are you?" he asked. Lyra thought about it. "That depends on your definition of dangerous." "That is not comforting." Another pause settled between them, less tense this time, more uncertain. The anomaly flickered softly, its light reflecting in both of their eyes, creating a strange symmetry neither of them noticed. "I'm Elias," he said finally, as if the name itself might somehow make sense of the situation. Lyra nodded slowly. "You seem confused, Elias." "I feel like that's a reasonable reaction." "Yes," she admitted, "it is." The anomaly pulsed again, stronger now, the air around it trembling faintly. Lyra felt it immediately, the subtle shift, the quiet pull of something deeper than simple curiosity, something familiar. She frowned just slightly. "That's new," she murmured. "What is?" Elias asked. Lyra didn't answer right away. She simply looked at him, her gaze sharpening with quiet intensity, as if trying to see something just beyond the surface. "I'm not sure yet," she said. And for reasons neither of them could explain, neither of them stepped away. The anomaly did not close. That alone was enough to make Lyra uneasy. though she masked it behind a composed expression that suggested she had encountered far stranger things, which, to be fair, she had, but rarely this stubborn. "You're still here," Elias said, as if pointing it out might somehow solve the problem. "You're still observing," Lyra replied calmly. "I live here. That does complicate things." Elias glanced at the shimmering distortion cutting through his room like an uninvited guest with poor timing. "So this, dimensional instability, does it normally just hang around?" "No," Lyra said. "It usually collapses within seconds." "That's reassuring," he muttered. "So we're dealing with the unusual version." Lyra stepped closer, studying the anomaly as it pulsed in a slow, deliberate rhythm. "It's stabilizing." "That sounds bad." "It depends," she said. "Stability suggests purpose." Elias stared at her. "I don't like anything about that sentence." She ignored him, reaching out again. But this time the anomaly reacted before she touched it, its surface rippling as if recognizing her presence. Lyra hesitated, her expression shifting slightly. "It's responding," she murmured, "to you." "And to you," she added, glancing at him. Elias raised both hands instinctively. "I'm not responding to anything. I was just standing here. With my coffee, which is now cold, by the way, so that's another problem." Lyra tilted her head. "You're concerned about temperature." "Yes," he said firmly. "It was a good coffee." "That is unfortunate." A faint flicker passed through the anomaly, and for a brief second the space around them shifted again. Lyra saw something: trees, sunlight, the distant echo of laughter. It vanished before she could focus on it. She froze. "Did you see that?" she asked. Elias blinked. "See what?" "Something changed." "Everything changed," he said. "You showed up through a glowing tear in reality. I think we passed normal a while ago." Lyra frowned, but not at him, at herself. At the strange feeling that lingered just beneath her thoughts, like a memory she couldn't quite reach. Elias watched her carefully. "You look like you just remembered something you didn't want to." "I didn't remember anything," she said. "Yeah, that's usually when people look like that." She exhaled softly, an almost imperceptible gesture. "Do humans always narrate their observations like this?" "Only when confused. Which, in my defense, is happening a lot right now." The anomaly pulsed again, brighter this time. Elias winced slightly as the light reflected off the walls. "Okay, I'm starting to feel like this thing is reacting to us talking." Lyra considered that, possibly. "So maybe we should stop talking." "That would be inefficient." "For once I'd like inefficiency," he said. "It sounds peaceful." Another flicker. This time Elias saw it. He went completely still. "Okay," he said slowly. "That wasn't my imagination." Lyra looked at him sharply. "What did you see?" "I don't know," he admitted. "Something not here, but it felt," he stopped, frowning, "familiar." The word lingered between them. Lyra's gaze softened just slightly. "Yes," she said quietly, "that is the correct term." Elias rubbed the back of his neck, clearly uncomfortable. "That's weird, right? That shouldn't be happening." "No," Lyra agreed, "it shouldn't." The anomaly shifted again, its surface stabilizing further, its light no longer erratic but steady, controlled, intentional. Lyra stepped back this time. "That's also new," she said. "What is now?" Elias asked, already bracing himself. "It's not behaving like a natural phenomenon anymore." He let out a small, humorless laugh. "Of course it's not. Why would it do that?" Lyra didn't respond immediately. Her eyes remained fixed on the anomaly, her expression tightening with a realization she wasn't ready to explain. "It's maintaining the connection," she said finally. "Between us?" Elias asked. "Yes." He looked at her, then at the anomaly, then back at her again. "That feels like a bad idea." "Yes," Lyra said softly, "it does." Another pause. Elias exhaled slowly. "So what happens if we just ignore it?" Lyra met his gaze, something unreadable flickering behind her eyes. "I don't think it will allow that." The anomaly pulsed once more, as if confirming her words. Elias stared at it. "I don't like how it keeps doing that right after you say things." "Neither do I," Lyra admitted. For a moment, neither of them moved. The connection between their worlds remained open, steady, undeniable. And whatever had started it, whatever had chosen them, was not finished yet. The anomaly did not wait for permission to evolve. By the time Lyra returned, it was no longer a fragile tear but something steadier, almost patient, like it had decided it would outlast their hesitation. Elias was already there, pacing in a way that suggested he had tried to ignore the situation and failed dramatically. "You're late," he said, pointing at the anomaly as if it had filed a complaint. "I was delayed," Lyra replied. "Royal obligations. Did they involve not mentioning the interdimensional problem you left behind?" "Yes, that feels irresponsible." "Very," she agreed without hesitation. Elias stopped pacing and looked at her more closely. "You look different." Lyra frowned slightly. "Define different." "I don't know," he said. "You just do." She considered that, then dismissed it with a small shake of her head. "You look the same." "Thank you," he said. "I think." The anomaly pulsed, softer this time but longer. The air shifted, and suddenly the space between them felt thinner as if distance had become optional. Lyra stepped closer. Elias did the same, though he looked less certain about it. "Okay," he said, "this is new again." "Yes," Lyra murmured. For a moment nothing happened. Then everything did. Elias blinked and he was somewhere else. He stood in a vast hall that stretched beyond logic, its walls alive with shifting patterns of light. The air carried a quiet hum, not mechanical, not natural, something in between. He looked down at his hands, half expecting them to disappear, but they remained stubbornly present. "I'm dreaming," he said. "You are not," Lyra's voice answered. He turned. She stood beside him, though she looked younger. Not physically exactly, but something in her expression had changed, softer, less guarded. "Okay," Elias said slowly. "This is new, in a very concerning way." Lyra glanced around the hall, her brow furrowing. "This place. You recognize it?" he asked. "No," she said, then paused. "Yes." "That's not confusing at all." The space flickered. For a brief second the hall was replaced by something else. Trees, sunlight, a breeze that didn't belong here. Elias inhaled sharply. "I know that place." Lyra looked at him. "So do I." They both went still. "That's not possible," he said. "No," Lyra agreed quietly. "It is not." The world shifted again, snapping back into the broken observatory. The anomaly shimmered between them, now brighter, more stable, as if it had accomplished something. Elias staggered slightly, grabbing onto a nearby surface. "Okay," he said, breathing out. "That felt real." "It was," Lyra said. "That's worse." She didn't argue. Instead, she studied him, her gaze sharper now, more focused. "You experienced the same location I did." "Yes," he said, "which is not how reality is supposed to work." "No," she said again. Elias ran a hand through his hair, clearly trying to process something his mind refused to accept. "I've never been there," he said. "I would remember." Lyra hesitated. "I believe you." "But you've seen it," he added. "I have," she said, then more quietly, in fragments. The anomaly pulsed again, and this time the sensation was different. Not a shift in space, but something deeper. A pull. Elias froze. "Did you feel that?" "Yes." "It's like," he struggled for the words, "like something is trying to line things up." Lyra's expression darkened slightly. "That is an accurate interpretation." "Great," he said. "I love accurate interpretations when they sound ominous." She almost smiled. Almost. Another flicker passed through the anomaly, and with it came something new sound. Faint at first, barely noticeable, like an echo that didn't belong to either of them. Laughter, childlike, distant. Elias went still again. "Okay, no," he said. "That's where I draw the line. Random mystery visions, fine. Shared hallucinations. Sure, but ghost children, that's too much." Lyra didn't respond immediately. Her eyes were fixed on the anomaly, her expression unreadable. "That wasn't random," she said finally. Elias stared at her. "Please don't say that." "It was a memory," she added. "That's worse." "Yes," Lyra said softly, "it is." The anomaly pulsed once more, steady and deliberate, of them was ready to understand. Elias let out a slow breath. I have a bad feeling about this. Lyra looked at him, her gaze steady. So do I. The anomaly no longer flickered. It held steady, as if it had finally decided what it wanted to be. Lyra stood in front of it without hesitation this time, while Elias stood a step behind, like someone who had already accepted that stepping forward would probably make things worse. So, he said, arms loosely crossed, this is the part where reality either fixes itself or explodes, right? Lyra did not look at him. Those are both valid possibilities. Great, I love having options. The surface of the anomaly shifted, not violently, but with a quiet certainty that made it feel less like a phenomenon and more like a decision. Lyra felt it immediately, the same pull as before, only stronger now, impossible to ignore. Elias felt it too. He frowned, then winced slightly. Okay, that's new again. I don't like how everything is always new. Lyra exhaled slowly. It is reaching completion. That sounds like the end of something. Yes, she said, it is. He looked at her then, more seriously than before. You know what's happening, don't you? Lyra was silent for a moment, then she nodded. I understand enough. Enough to tell me, he asked. She finally turned toward him, her gaze steady but softer than it had been at the beginning. We are not two separate beings. Elias blinked. Okay, I'm going to need a little more than that. We were once one existence, Lyra continued, divided across realities. He stared at her, waiting for the part where she said it was a joke. She did not. Right, he said slowly. Of course, that makes perfect sense. Happens all the time. Lyra almost smiled. Your humor is a defense mechanism. Your calm is suspicious. The anomaly pulsed once, brighter than ever before. Images flooded through them, not fragments anymore, but full memories, seamless and undeniable. A single childhood lived in two ways at once. Laughter in a place that no longer existed. A decision made by someone who had believed they were saving everything. Elias inhaled sharply, his expression shifting as understanding settled in. We were split, he said, not copied, not duplicated. Lyra nodded, yes. And now it's trying to fix that. Yes. He looked at the anomaly, then back at her. By what? Putting us back together. Or removing one of us, Lyra said quietly. Okay, he said. I preferred the first option. She didn't respond. The silence stretched, heavy but not unbearable. Elias let out a slow breath. So this is it then. One of us disappears. Reality stabilizes, everyone's happy. Not everyone, Lyra said. Fair, he admitted. Most people then. Another pulse. The pull intensified. Elias took a step closer to the anomaly, then stopped. You know, he said, almost casually, for something that's deciding our existence, it's not very polite about it. Lyra stepped beside him. Politeness is not a universal constant. Yeah, I'm noticing that. They stood there side by side, the connection between them no longer confusing or distant, but clear. Familiar in a way that made everything else seem less real by comparison. Elias glanced at her. You're the one with the important life, he said. Princess, responsibilities, entire civilization depending on you. I fix things that break and drink too much coffee. Lyra shook her head slightly. You simplify your existence. I'm trying to be practical. You are part of me, she said. That is not insignificant. He smiled faintly. Yeah, I figured that out eventually. The anomaly pulsed again, urging, waiting. Elias looked at it, then back at her. What if it's wrong? He asked. What if we're not supposed to go back to being one? Lyra considered that. Then we must choose to remain separate. Can we do that? She hesitated, then quietly, I believe we can. Elias exhaled. That sounds like a terrible idea. Yes, Lyra agreed, but it is ours. The anomaly reacted immediately, its light shifting, destabilizing for the first time since it had stabilized. The pull resisted them, pressing harder, as if trying to force a conclusion they refused to accept. Elias winced. It really doesn't like that. No, Lyra said, it does not. She stepped forward, placing her hand against the surface. The energy surged, pushing back, but she held her ground. Elias hesitated for only a moment before stepping beside her, doing the same. "Okay," he said through clenched teeth. "If this breaks everything, I'm blaming you." "That is acceptable." The anomaly trembled, its structure unraveling under their resistance. The light fractured, folding inward instead of outward, as if reality itself was reconsidering its decision. Elias laughed, a short, breathless sound. "You know, this is not how I expected my day to go." Lyra's voice softened, "Nor mine." The pressure built, then snapped. The anomaly collapsed in on itself, not violently but completely. The connection between their worlds vanished, leaving behind only silence. Elias stumbled back, catching himself. "Okay," he said, looking around. "Still here, that's a good sign." Lyra stepped back as well, her expression steady but changed. "Lighter somehow." "Yes," she said, "it is." He looked at her, something uncertain crossing his face. "So, what now?" Lyra met his gaze. "Now we exist as we are, not as we were." He nodded slowly. "Separate?" "Yes." A faint smile appeared on his face. "That's going to take some getting used to." "It will," she agreed. Another pause, but this one felt different, not tense, not uncertain, complete. Elias rubbed the back of his neck. "You're still a princess, though." "Yes." "And I'm still me." "Yes." He nodded again. "Okay, I can work with that." Lyra inclined her head slightly, a gesture less formal than before. "As can I." For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Elias sighed. "I should probably get new coffee." Lyra blinked. "You remain concerned about that?" "Absolutely," he said. "Some things are important." She almost laughed. And for the first time, the universe did not disagree. "Goodbye until we meet again in a new story. Your feedback is important to us. Don't forget to like and comment.